Just after 5 o'clock here in Northwest Indiana. Welcome to the PNW Basketball Coaches Show this Monday after Christmas, the 28th of December. Every 2 weeks we try to do this show with Courtney Locke and Boomer Roberts, and often they will bring on a piece of their team or their coaching staff, and we have a chance to do that here tonight. But first, let's talk to the head coach of PNW Women's Basketball, and that's Courtney Locke. Coach, how are we doing? How was your Christmas? Merry Christmas to you, and how was everything this past week?
Merry Christmas. It was fabulous. I did nothing.
That's your idea of fabulous. Good. I'm in favor of that. I agree.
That's the best thing. Eat good food and watch TV and do absolutely nothing.
Yes, I agree. So were you just here, or did you see any family, or I know your family lives in different parts of the country, so.
Yeah, I was gone for a few days, but not too long. Okay. So just enjoyed it. I mean, I really absolutely stayed on the couch and caught up on some Netflix, which is my favorite thing to do, watched a lot of basketball, and ate some really good food.
Good. Well, it's good to see you, like I said, and it's been quick these past couple weeks, so you guys got a chance to play, to my knowledge, at least one scrimmage against Loyola that came a few days after we had last talked. So I think that's the only game you guys played since then, especially with the Christmas holiday. But how did that game against a talented Division I program go, and what do you think you learned from your basketball team?
Yeah, I think we learned a lot. There's some things that we got to fix. But we put up 60 points against the Division I program, which I thought was really good. Offensive boards killed us. They scored 18 points, which was the difference in the game. And that's definitely something that we can fix. But we were able to, right before Christmas, we were able to get in 2 scrimmages within the conference, and then our exhibition game against Loyola. So I thought it was really good for us. It was quick. It was back-to-back, and really kind of showed us what the season was going to look like.
So in that game, one thing that stands out to me is you play a tough team, and at times, they start to pull away later, and you can kind of just say, okay, especially given the fact that it's an exhibition, you can quote-unquote quit a little bit at that point and just go through the motions. But your team didn't. You guys won the fourth quarter against Loyola, and I know people will say, well, it's an exhibition, and the final score didn't reflect that it was relatively too close. It was about a 20-point game. But I think that's something that you can definitely take out of that is your team's fight in that final quarter.
Absolutely. We have 9 freshmen and sophomores. We have 13 on roster, so we're trying to figure out lineups and what's the best flow. Our bench outscored theirs. We had 40 points off the bench. Dash came in and scored 16 points in a limited amount of minutes. It was less than 20 minutes that she scored them. So, Lex was 7 points in 7 minutes. So I think there were some really good things that we did. But I think it showed us as a coaching staff what we really need to focus on, what little things we need to fix, and now we have the opportunity to do that.
Last year, we had a chance to talk with one of the players we're going to mention here in just a second. We have one player with us today with you who's going to join us in just a moment, but we want to talk about somebody else who got some preseason honors, and that's Savea Brockington. I know you were disappointed last year that she did not make any of those end-of-season teams, and looking at the numbers and the way we saw her in person, the eye test told you that she probably deserved to. But this year she gets the preseason accolades, being on the North Division women's basketball preseason all-conference team in the GLIAC, and as a sophomore only especially, that is a pretty impressive honor. Absolutely.
She's worked hard for it. I think she's definitely earned it. Now she's got to keep it, and that's the struggle. And I think it's, when you're this young and you're trying to figure it out, I think you try to do too much sometimes, and she's got to let the game come to her, and she's got to enjoy playing. At the end of the day, she just has to be her, and the results will come. But I'm iffy about preseason. We haven't played a game. They don't matter. I think it's a great accolade. I think it's a great thing for her to have. But at the end of the year, that's what matters.
Okay, I was gonna say I pulled out this nice little article and talked nice about someone, and then you just kind of trashed it. And okay.
I'm sorry. I like them, but we have there's preseason player of the year, there's preseason this, and it's like these kids haven't done anything yet. Let them do something. And I think she earned it last year, and I see why, and I absolutely am thankful for it, and I think it's a great opportunity for her. But it ultimately comes down, what do they do during the season? They got to show up. And I think she has that opportunity, and I think she will.
Well, Coach, as being the head coach in her second season, you've had an opportunity to have about I don't even know if it's getting closer to half and half, I would say, if not a little bit more than half of the players that you now will hopefully coach all 4 years of their careers here at P&W. But there's a number of players that you inherited on this roster that were not that case, and one of them is with us tonight, and that's Tayler Vauters. Tell us about Tayler Vauters, senior guard now, which is hard to believe because I was thinking about that. I think I've pretty much been doing the games all 4 years, if not a little bit longer than that. So that's making me feel a little bit older and older and older as I get closer and closer to 30. But let's talk about Tayler Vauters, your senior guard, with you here tonight.
Yes, Taylor's an old head. So she's a senior. You know, Tayler embodies everything that you want in a player. She is selfless. She works extremely hard. She's a great leader for our program. And to have her and Danny as our seniors has been a dream. These kids will run through a wall if you ask them to. And so the other thing is that Tayler takes care of business off the court. You know, being a nursing major, I mean, she's going to be out there saving lives in just a couple of months. So I'm really excited about what she represents. If you look at Division II and the whole model of student athlete, that's Tayler. Like, she embodies it 100%. And so I'm super thankful. I did not recruit her, but she is mine. I claim her through and through.
Now, Tayler, here's your chance to tell us about Coach Locke now. And I usually do this to everybody, like, what's your favorite thing, what's your least favorite thing? But we'll go to that in a second. How was your Christmas, first of all? I don't know if the guys and gals on both teams, they get a chance to go back home, I assume, for a couple of days. Is that usually how it works? But how was your Christmas?
Hi, thanks for having me. Christmas was great. I loved being home with the fam, but it's nice to be back and kind of get started and get season rolling.
So when you get that chance now to talk about your head coach, you've had a couple head coaches here at P&W, but tell us the most challenging thing about playing for Courtney Locke first, and then we'll go to the good stuff. This isn't like she's not great in the mornings or something, but what is the most challenging thing about Coach Locke? She challenges you guys, I know that for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I would say the most challenging thing is, especially for me, just in like Dan, transitioning and kind of changing the program entirely. It's been great. I've loved it. But that was the most challenging for sure, just adjusting and doing what she wants and, you know, operating at the level that she wants us to. That's been the most challenging, but I feel like now we have a pretty good feel and we know what she expects and what she wants. So I feel we do a decent job at that.
So now we'll give you a chance to ease that, not too much tension, but a chance to say the good things about Coach Locke, which I'm sure there's plenty of those, right?
Yes, plenty. She's just, what she's done for our program has been, I mean, the recruits that she's brought in, how we competed last year, the way that she's taught us, you know, on the court and off the court. Like, she cares about us while we're on the court, but she always makes sure that we're good off the court as well. And that's something that I love about her. She always just making sure schoolwork's taken care of, that we're good, that our family's good. And that's just something that I really love about her.
How have you approached some of the challenges as far as, obviously, some of the most important players that she brought in? All three freshmen last year were players that would play in your spot potentially at that guard position, that 1-2 guard spot. How have you approached the challenges of the underclassmen coming in to put the pressure on you as an upperclassman these last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, that's just how it works, you know. You have to prove yourself in practice and, you know, prove that you're deserving to play. And that was fine with me. And I think that those three deserve to play all the minutes that they did. And then I just had to find a different way to get on the court and try to figure that out by the end of the year. And then that ended up working out. So, but no, they deserve all of that. So
I know the answer to this question, I think, but what is that different way to get on the court? I mean, we talk about the talented freshmen with Brockington and Angel Galbraith as well as Kennedy Jackson, but Savea brings the scoring mentality, leading scorer last year, and Angel brings the ball handling, and Kennedy brings the defensive tenacity. And obviously, the other parts of their game, they're all working on the different facets that they're not the top of their game. But what is your way then, if they all bring those little pieces? What's your way to get on the floor?
It was defense for sure. Just bringing it in practice every day, competing, talking, communicating, just kind of doing all of the details, all the little things that needed to be done. I just tried to do that as much as possible, and just, really make sure that I worked every day. But defense for sure was my way of getting on the court.
What's this last year been like for you? It's obviously there's so many challenges with everything for everybody, but when you're transitioning from being a junior to a senior and everyone has those grandiose ideas about, I played my entire life of basketball and I've gone through school and here I am. It's the culmination now. Senior season's supposed to be fun with winning, of course, and that dedication's still there. But what's it been like with that not being the focal point of this season so far?
It's been kind of just an adjustment. Practices have been different. Obviously, workouts have been different. So just us as a team and coaches being able to adapt to what's been thrown at us. It's been interesting. But now that we're really getting into, we're about to play and we started practicing a lot more, it's still just bittersweet. I don't know if I'm ready for it or not. Just kind of going with the flow and seeing what happens. It doesn't feel real to only have, 2 months left this season, 3 months left this season. And then I'm graduating in May and have to get a job and do all that.
That all sucks. I mean, it does. But
Yeah.
do you start to feel a little bit old at this point? It's hard to believe.
I do. I tell the girls all the time, like Dan and I'm like, I don't know how we are the seniors, because I feel like we fit in great with the freshmen and the sophomores, and Molly and Brett are the juniors, are our roommates. It's like, just doesn't feel real.
See, that's what all us and other people will tell you this as you get older. That's what all the old people say. We fit in still with we still fit in with all the young people.
We might actually not, but we think we do.
It's exactly how it's like looking from a third person point of view, and you say, what doesn't fit here? It's that old picture. But here we are in this year, obviously, of 2022, and what else comes with the challenges of being a college athlete and a college student at the same time is difficult enough. But for you, and I think you mentioned Molly DeValcanier as well, who is, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure she's a nursing major too. I feel like we just had her on the show, Coach, too. That feels like about 2 weeks ago, and that was 10 months ago when we talked to her about all the challenges, the similar things that you go through in the nursing program, which is not an easy program at all. I attended P&W. I know P&W was a good school to go to, but the nursing program gets some definite accolades. When you get accolades in a program, that means it's not easy to get through. It's like the engineering program at Lafayette. What is it like just going through that program normally, and then how has it even evolved to be maybe even more difficult in this year?
Yeah, it's been challenging. Just by itself is enough. All the homework, and now that we're all online and all the studying, it's mostly just a lot of studying and stuff for the test, but working that around practice and basketball, it's just really all time management, making sure you make the time to study, making sure you have the time to do your homework, while on top you have practice and, workouts and all that. So it's been challenging for sure, but my professors have been great and super, super understanding about traveling and any practices or anything. So they've helped me out a lot, being a student athlete. So I'm super grateful for that.
Why did you get into nursing?
I wasn't really 100% sure what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something with people, and I like helping people, and something that was interactive with people. And so I applied, just kind of seeing if I would get in. And then once I got in, I was like, yep. And now that I'm here, I don't think I could see myself doing anything else.
Coach Locke, Tayler Vauters as a nurse. Obviously, you know her well as a basketball player, but how does that sentence end?
Oh, fantastic. It is absolutely in her DNA. I would trust her. She's kind. She definitely cares about people. She is definitely a mother hen on our team. So absolutely, it's a great fit for her.
I don't think we've talked a bunch about it. I know I was talking to Boomer last week, and he had mentioned that I think it was finals last week, right? Which is hard to believe.
Yeah.
You do lose track given the fact that you're not in school anymore, which is nice, but it's hard to believe the way this year's gone. There would already be a finals year. We haven't had any games, and here we are talking about a semester being over. But the question that I have for the both of you, and Courtney, you can answer this one first, is how have you managed with your players? This year's been more challenging, I think, than ever to stay on the education, even though you're not playing. Maybe it's not, but how has that challenge been to keep your athletes in the student part of student athlete?
Yeah, it's been difficult. And the hardest part about it is the Zooms.
Yeah.
They're in their rooms. And so you hope that they're getting up, and they are. They take care of the academic side of it, but there's a lot of challenges with taking Zoom classes, and it's a different type of learning. It's a different accountability. And so even the coursework is different than in person. Tayler going through a clinical in person is a lot different than doing a simulation lab online. And so I think that was really hard for our student athletes to adjust to, but they figured it out. And just also learning that I had to stay on top of them a little bit more because it is different and they're not used to learning this way and trying to figure it out. And so I think all coaches and student athletes, we had an adjustment period, and I think we figured it out. I think we did really well this semester. But it's ever changing. And you just got to be able to roll with it.
Tayler, the same question to you as far as you touched on it a little bit already, but the idea of being a nursing major, and usually that's more hands-on. They're going to teach you stuff and try to show you how things work, and that was the case for a few years for you, but now it's not been, and that's got to be difficult.
Yeah, it makes me honestly a little nervous. I mean, I know it's kind of everywhere is in the same situation. So everyone graduating in the medical field is going to have the same issues, but it's just like the interaction with patients, and honestly more so the therapeutic communication and stuff, and like learning that part of it is I dislike the most. And I'm a hands-on learner too. So that's been really hard for me, having to adjust to online and, Zoom classes and all of that. So that's been difficult, but yeah, I don't know. It just makes me a little nervous. Cause I'm hoping that this next semester we get to at least do a couple in-person clinicals and stuff, but we'll see.
We've bounced around a little bit, and that's how I usually like to do it. And no real script to anything, just kind of make it up as I go. But let's go back a little bit. Reading your bio a little bit earlier today, you went to Riverton Park High School, 2A high school in a very small town in Montezuma, Indiana, correct? If I did my research right. Under 1,000, I think, last I checked, was the population of that town. What's it been like? Because people don't realize this. If they don't travel up and down I-65 too often, if you go south, especially more than 50 miles, but even about 15 or 20, once you start getting past Lowell anywhere, the landscape changes dramatically. We are almost a suburb of Chicago up here, right, northwest Indiana. Much different than the rest of the state until you get to Indianapolis. What's that adjustment been like?
It's been very different, but I've liked it. It made me realize that because actually my dad's a farmer, so the country living and all of that has just been a part of my lifestyle. So coming here was definitely an adjustment, but something that I think I like. I want to try to live in the city for a couple years before I settle down and do all that. So I really enjoyed being up here and being close to, food and grocery stores and all that. Just a lot different than living at home.
Do you ever have a Southern accent?
People tell me, they used to tell me.
It's very subtle a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah, freshman year, sophomore year, I got it all the time.
Okay.
They've died down a little, but I think it's because I'm up here more so than at home now, but a little bit every once in a while.
Yeah, that's it's really it's interesting to see that this state is unlike a lot of states in the United States, that where you can go from the northern part and say, I'm from Indiana, and you talk like that, and then somebody from the southern part, you go down to Bloomington and you start getting to Evansville and New Albany, and it's so much different. It almost is, to a sense, Kentucky and that Tennessee type feel to it. You have a small population. We could probably have an hour-long interview about the whole farming thing, but
we get pictures of the cows. Don't worry, we can send them to you.
Pictures of the cows. Okay.
Oh yeah, I ask about them all the time.
How many cows are there?
Oh, I think we have 13.
13 cows.
And
okay.
like 6 or 7. Or no, they're all pregnant again. So they just had babies like not that long ago, and now they're all pregnant again. So like 7 of them are about to have more babies.
So do you go through in your life growing up, was that a whole wake up at 3 a.m. type thing all the time? Were you a part of all that or no?
Not really. I've worked with my dad a little bit, but him and my brother, my grandpa have really done most of that, and my grandma as well. They kind of take care of that, and then I just pet the cows and the pigs and all that.
That sounds like
much of
that's a better job.
Laboring work.
That's a much better job, to be honest with you.
Yes.
Let's talk about this. We'll get back to basketball here. Looking forward to this season, normally you would have had some easier opponents. Not necessarily easier, but the GLIAC's so tough there's no breaks. You may have had some teams at the beginning that you felt your chances were better to win against. That's not really going to happen this year, right? It's all GLIAC all the time. How do you think that impacts the even added toughness of playing in this conference?
I think that I'm really excited to see how we compete this year. And I think it's nice that a lot of the girls don't really know what to expect. So they're just going in as just any other game, not knowing the competition. So, I mean, there's only a few of us as sophomores and us four that know really what the GLIAC's like. So I think them not knowing honestly will help a little bit. And then we've just been competing so much and stuff in practice. I'm just really excited to see how we play.
Coach, same kind of question to you as far as, and I think we've touched on it, but that schedule is going to make it tough this year, where you're constantly grinding right through the start on the 8th to the end of the season come late February, early March.
Absolutely. And to think that the GLIAC's not going to get better. I mean, there's kids that have graduated. There's All-Americans that have graduated, and it's still going to be tough. And then playing back-to-back. We got a little taste of it right before Christmas playing back-to-back, but that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
That's going to be really tough, and it's a quick turnaround, and mentally we got to prepare for that.
I got to ask one more question. I see this is what happens when you don't script out the questions as much. Then you kind of forget when you're asking a follow-up question. How did Coach Medjugorje recruit you, Tayler, to come here? How do you get to Montezuma, Indiana, to come up here to Hammond? That's the story that I want.
It was all AAU. I'm pretty sure I was in Fishers or Indianapolis, and he happened to be there. So. Okay.
See, that's not as exciting as I was hoping for. The coach is driving down to Montezuma, jumping into what size is the gym? What is the attendance? About 400, 500, 1,200 maybe? Because we got some 2A gyms here, but
I don't really know. Our gym's decently big for as small as we were.
Well, you do find that down south too, yeah. Big gym. Yeah,
our gym was pretty big, and it was nice. It got redone like my sophomore year, so it's pretty nice. But it's small.
Hey, you got it. That ruins the whole narrative and the whole story.
Way to go, Tay.
I know.
It's got to be better. I want a coach to be like at the farm and all that stuff, but that's a funny sight.
None of that. Not that exciting at all.
Well, any final thoughts from the either of you? It's been good to talk to you both after this Christmas holiday and getting close to New Year's here. Anything that you guys want to leave the viewers with? Tayler, you first, as far as 4 years of basketball here and what you think Coach Locke is building with this program as it continues to grow well past you graduating here come May.
I think she's built a great foundation to where our program is going to go and how she wants it to run, and the girls that she needs to bring in to recruit. So I'm just really excited to come back in 5 years and see where we are, and just know that I got to be a part of that. I feel so lucky that I was a part of that base. So I'm just really excited for that.
Coach, same type of question. Let's focus a little bit more on this year, though, as we look ahead. Obviously, we've asked you what you're trying to build here, but the group and the mix you've gotten, and you've done a pretty good job, too, of keeping some of those local talents around here. One that maybe went away for a little bit, now coming back, and Layla Rogers and also Dash Shaw added this year. West Side and Crown Point player, the folks might remember playing high school the last few years. But what kind of team are you hoping to have on the floor when it comes January 8th?
Well, first I need Tayler to come back and visit before 5 years, okay?
That was just a throw out. A couple of years.
We also want to be competitive. That's it. I want to compete. I want to be tough. We got to be mentally tough, physically tough, and I just want to compete. And these kids have it in them. We just got to get some things tightened up. But these kids, they got it. They got it in them, and I can't wait. Check us out online. We're going to be streaming it. watch, get as many viewers as we can. It's an exciting time to be able to play and represent PNW and to get after it in the GLIAC.
The only downfall is that you have to listen to me for a couple hours, but the stuff on the court is much, much better. We will see you guys coming in a couple of weeks after the New Year's. I think, let's do the math here. Today is the 28th. That would be, the 4th? And then, so we'll see you after your first game, which would be on the 11th, I think. So we'll see you next time then, and we'll have a couple of games to kind of dissect at that point. But best of luck. To you guys coming up, Coach, and Tayler all year long, and of course after that as well. Maybe more challenging, definitely more challenging once you get off the hardwood, I'm sure, with the career you have chosen. Pleasure to talk to both you guys on this Monday. Thanks for the time, and we'll see you in a couple weeks, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. We've got Boomer Roberts and his lead assistant coming up here in just a second, and we'll just stay right here and let them ride in. Hopefully they don't say anything too off the cuff. I don't think Coach has ever said a bad thing in his entire life. I tell people this all the time. I don't think Coach – we have to ask. We'll ask Coach Reynolds here in just a second. Has Boomer ever said a four-letter word in his entire life, Coach? That's the first question I ask you. You like that?
Not that I've heard.
I didn't think so. I figured that was the answer. But Nic Reynolds, who you folks see on the screen and the voice you hear, and I think Boomer's back there. I've got the selfie. I'll just assume he's here. But good to see both of you guys. Coach, how about you introduce yourself to everybody in the region? Coach Reynolds, your first year as the assistant with Boomer Roberts.
Yeah, my first year. As you said, I'm Nic Reynolds. Grew up in Peoria, Illinois. Played high school ball, all that. Grew up there. Played my college. Well, before college, I went to prep school in Bradenton, Florida. Played for Victory Rock Prep School. From there, I went to Columbia College, played 4 years there, graduated, and was a graduate assistant there for a year. After that year, I went to Illinois Springfield and coached under Matt Brock, who actually recruited me to Columbia College for a year. And then now I'm here. So this is my third year. And, excited to be in the region and working for Boom and for Purdue Northwest.
Well, how'd you get here? That's the next question that comes after that. What was the process like to be a part of this coaching staff?
The process, I was staying at my girlfriend's place in Columbia, Missouri, where I did my undergrad. At that point, everything was shut down. Everybody was doing everything virtually. I was still recruiting for UIS and whatnot, but I was a graduate assistant there, finishing up my master's degree. And so I was, just looking for a job, and I wasn't having the best of luck at all. I knew I wanted to continue to coach. And so my confidence was kind of wavering. And Boomer ended up needing an assistant kind of later. As far as all that goes, it's been a weird year as far as turnover and jobs and whatnot. But got my foot in the door there. We had some close mutual friends, and then just kind of each step of the interview process with Boomer, I just felt more confident as we kind of got to know each other. And it ended up working out. That dude put me through like 8 interviews. I like to give him.
Why am I not surprised by that?
No, super thorough, but it all makes sense. I was drawn to the family, the culture, his vision. Definitely excited me and kind of he's like luring me in. But it was an interesting interview process. But yeah, great fit for me personally, and I hope for the program.
Very rude of me not to ask how your Christmas was, by the way. Did you, I don't know if you went back and saw some family and all that stuff, but how was your holiday?
It was a great holiday. My girlfriend and I went to my sister's place in Macomb, Michigan. She's got 3 kids. So we didn't want to travel or do anything too crazy. So just kind of small, intermediate family. Proposed to my girlfriend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hello.
She said yes, so I kind of hoodwinked her, so she stuck with me. We've been dating for a while, but she's stuck with me now, so that was big time. So
yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, great Christmas.
Did you put her through like an 8 interview step process too to make sure that she was qualified? No, probably not. That's not the normal procedure. But I heard that guy in the background. That's your boss, Coach. How we doing? How was your Christmas?
Not as good as Coach Nick's, I'll tell you that much. But now he's, hey, boom, lunch on you today. I spent all my money on a ring, so I think it's lunch on me for the next couple months.
That's a good excuse. But one thing I did notice as soon as you popped up on the screen here is that the beard's starting to come in a little bit more.
It's the lighting.
Oh, it's shadowy. I think you're right. Yeah. Coach Reynolds, do you make fun of him for his beard like I do, or is it just me? I mean, I'm starting to.
I know his wife Britt's all about it. I'm encouraging it too. I personally like beards. It's funny though, because everybody who talks to Boom is like, man, shocked by his beard and whatnot, and that's all I know. Other than we met briefly when we played each other last year, but that's all I know is bearded Boom. So it's gonna be weird if he finally does decide to let it go.
Yeah, it's been a little bit weird for me, but it's starting to get there. I'm not one to be able to, trust me, I can't talk either. I mean, when it comes to growing facial hair, I am not the expert by that at all. Let's talk a little basketball after. Nice to hear some good personal news, and again, congratulations on that, Coach. That's a big deal. Big deal for sure. Last time and when I mean myself and Coach Brian Jennings, we saw you guys at Valparaiso. We went up there and did the radio call of the game, and a lot of folks may have watched that on ESPN3 as well. They provide that at Valpo. All their games are on ESPN3, at least the home games are. And I know folks probably had a chance to watch or listen to us do that game. What did you guys think? Boom, we'll start with you. What did you think about the way your team played on that Thursday night? Now we're getting close to 2 weeks ago, about 10 or 12 days ago against Valparaiso.
Yep, our third Thursday night game consecutively. Bowling Green, Ohio, Valpo, and it was our first time looking at a pretty much healthy group. We're still down one guy who started and played quite a bit for us last year, but we were excited going into it, feeling like we got the jitters out a little bit. And truthfully, we felt as a coaching staff, it was not our best performance of the 3 games. And now Valpo had a lot to do with that. They're a very good half-court defensive team. And if you don't move the ball efficiently, and if you turn it over, it just feeds their machine. And we did that. We hadn't turned it over in the first 2 games. And then all of a sudden it was a party down in Valpo, and they took advantage of that. And a lot of it was because of them. But truthfully, Sam, I thought we were clouded. We wanted to win the game so bad that we were clouded. We couldn't think clearly enough on what it takes to go and beat a good team like that on the road. And our guys were bummed because we didn't put our best foot forward. But we learned a lot from it. We're growing. We're moving forward. It's great to have those opportunities to learn and grow that don't reflect on your record. And anytime you get to play Division I on ESPN3, it's just fun for the guys to go out there and compete.
You guys also forced a lot of turnovers as well, I thought. Valparaiso, I don't know, I'm sure Matt Loddick would say that they were careless with the ball at times, like you kind of diagnosed your team being. But they had their fair share of issues holding on to the basketball that night, which it's not just like they threw it out of bounds on their own. There was definite defensive pressure from your team on the road.
So, I mean, we talk about this all the time with our staff. We actually believe, my first 2 years here, we were not a very good defensive team. But we actually believe with our length and athleticism, I mean, in our 9 guys that we played significant minutes against Valpo, 5 of them are 6'6" or taller. So, we have a lot of length around the rim, a lot of athleticism. We out-rebounded them. Now, part of that was we couldn't stick very many shots, but I think we had 21 or 23 offensive rebounds. So those are 2 of our strengths is being difficult to score on around the rim when we're flying around defensively and then keeping us off the glass. And I thought for the most part, we did a pretty good job of that. We weren't very efficient offensively. And you're not going to beat teams when I think they shot 32 free throws. We shot 9. And so if you don't shoot it well, it's hard to make up that 24 free throw attempt gap. And that was certainly the case that night. It's not like we played awful. We didn't play to the standard that we thought we were capable of. And again, a lot of that was Valpo's defensive pressure and their ability to take us out of what we wanted to do.
Coach Reynolds, same thing. Let's talk about all 3 games kind of in connection here as we've had a chance to talk with Boomer about a couple of those before. But what have you seen from your basketball team these first couple of games, kind of culminating with that Valparaiso game a couple Thursdays ago?
Well, it was just interesting. We didn't have much prep before Bowling Green. And truthfully, I hadn't seen a lot of our guys play up until we got cleared to practice, the week or so before we went out and competed against Bowling Green. So it was a great opportunity for me, and I think for us, just to play, as simple as that sounds. But it kind of showed me, what guys are capable of doing, because, there's practice, but it's always different when you cut the lights on and just see who's interested in competing and who's not going to shy away from the moment. And I was pleased, kind of like what Coach Boom said, we didn't put our best foot forward against Valpo, but we did have the opportunity to go play 3 high-quality Division I teams. Not a lot of teams at our level were able to do that. And so I think that really helped us overall in kind of formulating our identity to sit down as a coaching staff and say, hey, this is what we need to work on. This is what we're really good at. This is what we need to continue to reiterate to our guys and teach to our guys. And so overall, when we look back, I think, after our entire season, we're going to look back and be thankful that we were able to get out and play 3 good teams, ultimately to get prepped for the GLIAC, which is right around the corner.
Yeah, it's January 8th and 9th, that first couple of games. Now, we were hoping as well, Boomer, that you guys were going to play that Saturday against Grand Valley State. That was the initial plan. We had hoped for that, and then I got a call either Wednesday or Thursday from Rick Costello, and unfortunately that was not going to be able to happen. That had to be a little bit disappointing as well, that game did not happen. I know your strategy was don't tell my guys until after the Valpo game because you didn't want to have a letdown during the game, and I'm on the same page with you. I would have done the same thing. But I'm sure there was a little bit of disappointment that you didn't get a chance to compete on that Saturday.
Anytime you have a game tentatively scheduled and you don't get to play, it's disappointing. Yeah. That's why we sign up, right? That's why coaches coach. We're trying to build men and graduate dudes that are difference makers. But at the same time, we also play and coach a game of basketball. We want to go lace them up and compete. So that was disappointing, yeah. But at the same time, Sam, I really believe that, this whole year is going to favor the flexible. If you got to be able to be flexible because you might be preparing for one team for a week and all of a sudden it gets shut down. You might play another team off 20 hours notice and have to go out there and give it your best shot. So I think it's just preparation. Like Nick said, we got to play 3 great teams on the road. We got to learn a lot about ourselves where a lot of teams in our league haven't been able to do that. Would it have been nice to play a GLIAC opponent in a non-GLIAC game? Yes, it would have. But at the same time, we're thankful that we're almost here.
How has everything been going as far as your guys? No news. I haven't heard anything from anybody, so I imagine no news is good news on that end. But everything's been going smooth from what I understand, right? As far as you've been able to get your practices in, maybe occasionally a guy or two might have to miss here and there. But from what I get, everything's been going pretty good, correct?
Yeah, it's we were probably the last GLIAC team to start practices with how cautious we were. As a university, as an athletic department, as a program. But then we've been able to go pretty consistently the last 4 weeks now, 3.5, 4 weeks. And now we have finals in there, so we took a few days off, things like that. But we've been blessed that so far we've been able to keep improving, and we're thankful for that. And then Coach Nick, Coach Steve, my 2 assistants, those guys have really taken a big vocal role, which is a lot of fun for me because then I get to step back and just kind of watch them do their thing with our guys, which has been great.
Coach Reynolds, describe that role a little bit, stepping in and being more vocal and leading some of the practices and things that go along with all of your duties, obviously, as an assistant.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty, I think, of this level. You have to do everything. I know, Division I coaches, high major coaches, they kind of specialize, but this level you have to be able to recruit, to scout, talk to guys, handle some academic stuff. So it was a little bit of an adjustment for me, of course. And then I think the biggest part was just figuring Coach Boom out. I'm still doing that. We're still figuring each other out and just building that relationship, understanding what he needs, his expectations and stuff like that. But I think, he hired me to be a confident person. I try to be as confident as possible, work hard, but everybody works hard. And so I think just as I've gotten more comfortable learning our guys, our system, what we're trying to do, it's allowed me to be more vocal. And then credit Coach Boom because he's a super empowering guy. And he's not the boss that is like, you work for me. It's more I'm working with him And so that's ultimately really motivating. And, we both share some common values and interests, and that ultimately helps. And we're, we have a vision we share together, and we're going for it. So it's been fun. Still just feel like I'm getting my feet wet, but looking forward to it. And yeah, just the more confidence I get, the more confidence Coach Steve gets, the more we're able to assist Boom, and he can kind of focus bigger picture, and we can be detail oriented.
What's that process been like? Obviously, you have a chance probably maybe go grab lunch or something with the coaching staff. And I know we saw you guys out a couple of times this summer playing golf and all that good stuff. But when you're coaching and trying to develop a certain, like, your relationship obviously with the coach is a little bit different, but you got to have a certain relationship with your players as well. As an assistant, as the head coach, doesn't really matter. And in 2020, we understand that there's limited contact. You're not supposed to do the extra stuff, but sometimes that extra stuff, the 2-hour shoot around after practice, when you got a couple of guys or just even one guy in your one-on-one coaching, that's when you build the relationship. And not as much of that, unfortunately, is going on. So what's that challenge been like to try to be the new guy on the block, so to speak, who has to try to develop that relationship in this season?
Yeah, it definitely, this year has just been different altogether. We talked about, the locker room is excuse me, the locker room's kind of our family room, and you don't get to be in the locker room as much, and there's limited capacity in the locker room. And so you don't get to hang around with the guys as much, but, FaceTimes, calls, checking in on them. One thing I really try to be better about is, we all do a lot of communicating. So I'm texting guys, hey, what do you need for this class? And trying more to text them and reach out to them to check in on them. Boom's great at that. I like to think I'm good at building relationships with these guys, and that's ultimately what I'm in the business for. So it's challenging, but at the same time, we got to go on the road twice and stay in hotels and whatnot. So bus rides and whatnot. So there's still opportunities. Just got to be creative and how you approach it. But
when we talk about that a lot, the culture that you strive for and that family mentality, and Coach brings up a good point, this idea that it's supposed to be the locker room and the practice facility and on the court when you guys are working together. It's supposed to be that time to build that, but there's all these rules and guidelines and things you got to look up and down a long list to make sure you're checking off the boxes and doing everything the way you're supposed to be. So that has to make things much more challenging on that front.
I think it comes down to intentionality. For us, we're not going to make the excuse that we can't do certain things that we normally could. Everyone asks, well, how's it change coaching? How's 2020 change coaching? For us, I think it just exposes, it shows the programs that are for real and doing it for the right reasons, and the programs that aren't. And we're not perfect. We're a long way from that, but I think our hearts are in the right place. Coach Nic gave me a hard time about putting him through interview after interview after interview after conversation. And one of the reasons I did that is there's a lot of guys that can recruit. There's a lot of guys that can coach. There's a lot of guys that can teach. There's not a lot of guys that pour in and bring the same joy and love their dudes and care about them way more as men than we do as hoopers. That's just not the case. And so I wanted to have a guy with a shared vision, and he mentioned that, and he has been that and more. I mean, he's been fantastic, but I think our guys know that they're loved. I think our guys know that they're valued. They don't always agree with us. They get sick of our voices. We understand that. That's part of being coaches, but the culture of the family, it's just been magnified with the stuff that's taken away, because the real stuff lasts and it still matters.
Coach, you mentioned the idea of you hadn't really seen too many of your players when you saw them that first game coming out, because you just haven't had too many practices, haven't had some of that summer work you're used to, and all the early fall stuff that we would normally have just taken for granted. So who has, I guess, not seeing guys as much, so to speak, early, who has stood out for you, not knowing the guys from last year and trying to get some eyes on the guys who are freshmen coming in this year?
I mean, you could really go down the list to name a few. Credit to Coach Boom and Coach Knoll and Coach Brown. I think they did an amazing job with the recruiting class. Brought in a lot of talent. But Michel Cooper, To name one off the top of my head, really good left-handed dude. Nobody can stay in front of that guy, and he shoots it super fast. And, right under him, Greg Boyle, another really fast dude who I think is going to have a significantly better year than he did the past year. Everybody knows Big Gyro, but just seeing him every day, seeing his hands and how skilled he is and how dangerous he is on the block. Vince Miscavige, that dude's got probably the most impressive motor I've ever been around. With a combination of just motor and talent, that dude just works extremely hard and is going to be a problem in this league. Anthony Bernard, I know he's, kind of had a past that's kind of been damaged by injuries and whatnot, but if he can stay healthy for us, I think he's going to be really good, really defends. And then we have a freshman class between Jacob Stone, Logan Phillips, Caleb Zerlini, and Anthony Irvin, who just I truly believe love the game. They work hard at it, and they're really skilled. So I'm sure I missed one of our guys there, but man, they can all go. I'm out there in the lines with them a lot. I like to play with them. Boom lets me do that, and so they got a lot of guys with a lot that bring to the table.
Boomer, you look at this roster as well. One thing that I thought, and sometimes this can be that great equalizer when maybe you feel like, a team's slightly more talented than us. One thing that can even it out is the way you shoot the basketball. Everybody, they might have a little bit more athletic of a roster, so to speak, but at times the teams that are a little bit lesser can go in there and all of a sudden have a good shooting night, and a team you thought was going to win by 10, all of a sudden you got a really close game. Not to say you guys don't have great athletes, and we saw some of them. Zerlini, the dunk he had against Valpo was as good as you'll see across the country, even at the Division I level. That's as good of a open floor in transition with a guy right in his hip pocket, dunking it down. I thought he was going to get blocked, to be totally honest with you, and he dunked it down. But to make that transition, too, athleticism is important, but also you want to be able to say, you know what, if we're down down 6, 9 points, 10 points, we can get back into it in a couple possessions because we can knock down a couple of shots if they're there. And I think just looking from some of the stats and watching you guys shoot it a couple Thursdays ago against Valparaiso, I think Greg Boyle is one guy that you mentioned, Coach, as well, who has looked a lot more comfortable with his outside shot this year, and that can be something that is huge going into conference play when we started here the 8th.
Yeah, we have to shoot it well. I think one of the things that separates the GLIAC from other Division II conferences in the country, most D2 conferences have the same footprint, the same identity. They're either all high IQ skill guys who shoot it, or they're all athletes, or they're all big and they pound it inside. The GLIAC's split kind of in thirds. You got a group that is a super athletic and wants to go. Then you got a group that will slow and methodical and pound you inside physically. And then you got a group of motion teams that swing that thing around and get wide open shots every possession, it seems like. So you have to be versatile in the way that you recruit to be able to do that. I think we're going to miss guys like Chandler Springs and Tim Gilmore, guys that were snipers for us that really shot it. But you mentioned it. Greg Boyle is way more confident, way more comfortable. Michel Cooper can shoot it. All three of our freshmen can shoot it. And even this year, our bigs step out and shoot it better. So, I'm not sure we got a sniper on a hill like we have with Chandler the last few years, but I think as a group, we shoot it pretty well. And it remains to be seen what lineups play better. We're still tinkering through some stuff, but we're excited about our group. That's for sure. I'll tell you what, though, I'd take Nic Reynolds maybe one more season. We could suit him up. I'd be all right with that. Best shooter on the roster right there.
Yeah. Okay.
Fact.
All right.
Fact.
We'll have to see that one day in practice, huh? Or we sneak him out there. Somebody's a little banged up. Maybe we just give Coach Reynolds his jersey and see if anybody notices.
Can't catch me on a consecutive day because the legs go quick. But if I'm fresh, I might have something for you.
I get it. Trust me, I more than get it. But Boomer, one more note on something I wanted to finish that thought on is, was that something that you stressed? Was that a important thing, saying we're losing Chandler, we're losing Tim Gilmore, we're losing guys who were, when we need a bucket and we're down 6 with a minute left and we almost have to have a 3, that's the guys we're going to have shoot it. Knowing that you're going to lose them, was there that emphasis to your guys saying, hey, there's a couple of you who, to take that next step, got to be able to knock down the triple. Yeah, you can get to the rim and you're really shifty and all that stuff, but you got to be able to knock down that three-point shot. Was that something, or do these guys just do it on their own?
Yeah, I think most of it's just on their own. We try to give our guys a lot of confidence, so we work really hard on game shots and game speed. But guys just recognize, hey, these guys are going to be gone. There's minutes to be had, and they want it. When we went out and recruited, we wanted to get length, we wanted to get athleticism, we wanted to get shooting, and we wanted to get toughness. And I think we went out and did that. And then all of a sudden, when you have these vets that are returning that have been through the GLIAC, they're ready to rock and roll. It's different when the lights go on, like Coach Nic said, but we got some dudes who are fearless, and most of it's because of them, not because of what we've done.
Coach Reynolds, you talk about lacing it up with the guys like that, and young coaches I know like to do that. And Booms, you can't do that anymore after last year, so there's no more of that stuff. We don't want any more crutches on the sideline. But is that a big part of it, you think, too? Just being involved. Do you think that helps you not relate, but develop that chemistry and that relationship even a little bit faster? Being able to say, "Hey, give me the ball, and I'm going to do the thing I want you to do" at the same time.
Yes, I think, we talk about being in the fight. That's one of our biggest things as a coaching staff. And so, it's not just me. If we're running sprints as a team, Coach Boom's in it, Coach Steve's in it, myself, we're in it. We're doing something. We might not be the fastest or anything close, but when our guys are lifting weights, we're in there working too, not just, sitting down on a chair and being lazy. So I definitely think that gives you some respect, definitely dealing with 18 to 22, 23-year-olds. I don't think a lot of them have seen that. Coaches working out with them, that sweat equity you build with them. I definitely think it gives you some respect. And then being able to play a little bit, like sometimes if I don't have the words, like just here, give me the basketball, I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. And then hopefully they do it a whole lot better than I can. But yeah, definitely.
So do you still let that guy play too?
He gets in there.
Does he still?
He gets in there, and they know not to leave him too. They know not to leave him.
Because I don't know if maybe that wasn't part of the 88 segment interview process, but last year Coach had a little issue. He was coach on the sideline for a while with a little crutch, and he was jamming it on the floorboards, and yelling hitting the referees with it, and. So yeah. we don't want to see that again this year. I mean, we just don't want to add that to the we don't want to add that to the whole recipe of 2020 disaster of that site last year. Watching him with the crutch up here, and
I'm glad I could bring some comedic relief to the show.
Yeah, well, I'll leave it there. That's very nice of you to do so. I want to end it on this, Coach. We were at the game, and it was nice to see some people in attendance. Obviously, that's going to be severely limited this year. But I did see your family there, and I saw the little guys, and they were telling me he was very disappointed because he was dribbling all over the place, by the way. They couldn't keep him under control. He was everywhere. He was working on his handles. I think he's going to be a player for you. You give him another 10 years or so, and we got something, I think. Might have to have a scholarship offer in his future. But he was telling me he was very disappointed because – it took an hour to get to the game, and he couldn't believe that. That was too far of a drive, I think. A little bit too far.
Hey, we'll drive as far as you need to go to get to a gym. In the Roberts house, anytime we get into a gym, we're thankful. It was fun to have fans in the stands. Hopefully that's something that as we move forward, we'll get a chance to do that if this COVID thing can kind of calm down a little bit, which obviously is. A lot of prayer needs to go into that.
Yeah. There was one guy in the stands who shouldn't have been in the stands. He should have been sitting on your bench and playing some ball. I don't want to name specifics. I don't know how specific you want to get into it, but I did ask him, and I said, "Well, how you doing?" And he told me he was hoping for a couple more weeks. So you can get as specific as you want, but that's an important guy who started a lot of games for you last year, a little banged up still. And he told me he's getting closer. I'm hoping that that's the case, and he was still hoping to be ready for game action come the 8th here, but obviously you're in much closer than that. How is said player, if we want to name names, how is he progressing with all the injury? I think that's about it, right? Otherwise, pretty healthy.
Hey, since this is Coach Nick's show today, I'm going to let Coach Nic answer that one.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah, the secret's pretty much out. It's a Google click away, but yeah, Doss didn't suit up. But he's feeling hopeful. He says he's feeling a lot better. I think the biggest thing with him will just be easing him back in. That dude's a gym rat. He loves to be in the gym, and so just not biting off more than he can chew once he can get back in between the lines here. But hopefully we'll have him back sooner than later. And we know he'll be ready to get back in the gym. It's just a matter of he's a guy you got to pump the brakes on just because he'll be ready to go full speed. And so you start thinking about other injuries and whatnot as a coach. But he'll be fine, and hopefully we'll be suited up for the majority of the season.
Well, Coach, again, for folks who missed it at the beginning, we were talking earlier about just to make sure we get your personal life back out there, that you got engaged this past weekend. Have you had a chance to spend a decent amount of time with, I know with all the COVID stuff, maybe not, but have you had a chance to spend any time with Boomer's family and his kids as well? There's a follow-up to this, so it's not just a random question, but go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, we have. We that was an important part of the interview process. We kind of came down, and my girlfriend and I actually drove up and had dinner with his family and whatnot, and got to meet everybody right away. And we spent a lot of time over there at the Roberts, hanging out with the kids and whatnot. So yeah.
All right. So is that something? I'm putting you on the spot, maybe, but is that something that's in your future? You're thinking about kids and all that good stuff, and
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, then the question becomes, I mean, it's more of a statement than anything.
All right.
At the pace that Boomer's going, if you start to follow up in that, I mean, you guys might not have to recruit for a while if you pull something like that. I mean, if you start catching up in numbers, all of a sudden you've got like a 6, 7, 8-man roster going, and we don't have to worry about recruiting. It's just, that's settled. We got our team right here. Be like Hoosiers.
Yeah. Molly's definitely the better athlete of.
Really?
So
No
the
doubt.
bloodlines are going to be strong there.
Good. Well, there you go. That seems like an easy decision.
Yep.
Well,
You're gonna get me in trouble here, man.
Yeah, not to make it too awkward. I'm messing with you. Sorry. But thank you guys so much. I hope you had a great Christmas, and I hope you enjoyed a half hour of as exciting as it is on a Monday night talking to me. And Boom, it's always good to see you, and we will see you guys in action that following Friday. You'll be on the road the 8th and 9th, but we'll see you here at home on the 15th. And we're hoping for a bunch of great basketball this coming season. And we'll be seeing a lot of you guys as we get into that new year, at least, every other week, right? So we'll see you that much, and we're hoping for a lot of wins and constant improvement in this program to get it to, I know, the point where you guys want to get it to as we get closer and closer to getting it to that spot. So thank you guys for joining me, as always, on a Monday night, and thanks for taking the time.